Welcome back to the program. You're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Let's double down on that conversation about the performance of the 10th National Assembly, but also take stock of the general contribution of the Legislative House on Nigeria's growth and development. Join us on the program this morning is someone with the necessary experience and exposure with regards to how things work. Join us on the program is veteran lawmaker Senator Ita Enang is joining us this morning on Daybreak. Good morning, Senator. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It feels like the senator has put a stop to time.
Yeah,
he never seemed to age.
Exactly.
You know, you've got good genes, basically.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I thank God for the grace.
Yeah, exactly. Senator, what is the best way to start this conversation? Because for some, it is unfair to pass, a judgment on a body that is basically responsible for lawmaking and oversight function. Because a lot of people will say the buck really of implementing what is supposed to be manifesting in terms of what the government plans to do lies with the executive. But we all know that the legislative has the power to do quite a lot. And for the most part, a lot of Nigerians feel like they're not pulling their weight. What is your take on the general impact of the National Assembly on the polity?
The National Assembly has been having quite great impact on the polity, and that impact is doing what the Constitution expects of them. And what the Constitution expects of the legislature is to make laws, particularly the appropriation law. And when you make the appropriation law, you now follow up with oversight over the implementation. And when you are doing the oversight over the implementation, you do not just pass a general yes. You go to see, for instance, last week, there was something that happened which was very intriguing in the Senate and the House of Representatives, perhaps I think it's pending in the House of Representatives, the budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
That's right.
And it was generally in the press, in the eyes of the media, that in bringing the 2024 budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission to be passed, where is what you spent on 2022? Where is what you spent on 2023? Why should we pass 2024 budget when we have not seen what you did with 2023? And it was a very big issue, and it was a legitimate issue. And we understand the National Senate got into into executive session, and when they come out, they passed the Niger Delta Development Commission budget. The same thing goes with the national budget. The national budget, the way we did it in 2020, in 99, 2000, 2003, 2004, and when we're passing the next budget of this year, you will show us what you did on the Abuja-Kaduna road. How much was budgeted for you? How much you spent on it? How many kilometers was done? What the contractor needs? And the legislature will engage its own consultants. They will look at they will go to the road. The legislature themselves will go to the road. You will write, and it will be part of the column in the budget. What we budgeted for you last year, what has been spent, and what you need this year. So it is when you have this, and that you have the confidence of the public to say that you have particularly done your legislative work well. If you don't, you will still be having great distrust from the public. So the legislature, and please let me say this, passing a budget and passing a law or any bill rather that comes from the legislature, that comes from the executive, the way it came is not a sign of loyalty.
All right. Why do you say that?
It's not a sign of loyalty. It is a sign of laziness. I apologize for that. Because what the legislature receives from Mr. President or from its own members is a raw product. Is a raw product. And it is expected that you are supposed to see, is this bill constitutionally consistent? Is there any provision in this bill that is against the provision of the Constitution? Is there any provision in this bill that is already in an existing law? Is there any provision in this bill that is going to take away the powers of the state government and vest in the National Assembly? Is there any provision in this bill that has been adjudicated upon and pronounced upon by either the High Court, the Federal High Court, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, the High Court of any state? Is it a matter that has gone to the Court of Appeal? What was the opinion of the Court of Appeal on this? What was the opinion of the Supreme Court on this? You know, you'll have to, that is what it is. So just passing it the way it comes, the gavel goes. No, it is not a sign of loyalty. It is a sign of disloyalty to the public. It is to the general interest of the public. It is intellectual laziness. It is a sign of, and passing a bill without allowing that bill to be gazetted or put in the journal and made available to members of the public to be able to contribute on their own to a yes or a no to this provision is also sabotage to the public. It is a sign of, it is not good. So the legislature at the state level, the legislature at the national level should go back to the era where bills were gazetted, where bills passed through first reading, second reading, and where bills at second reading, where you will get views of lawyers, you'll get views of professionals in that field, you'll get views of the persons who've been experienced, and then that is during second reading. And as they're doing this at second reading, that contribution at second reading is capable of, is going to guide the conduct of the public hearing on the bill to say a yes or a no.
All right, distinguished. And I like the way you started off this conversation by giving us a bit of education around how some of these things function, you know, outside the praying eyes of the media. But you've been away from the National Assembly, not completely away, because you were a liaison officer at some point to a president. But my understanding is, do you get a sense that some of the optics we get from the National Assembly does truly reflect the yearning and aspiration of Nigeria? Where do you see a complete dichotomy from what people would like to see the National Assembly be and what it is and what role it currently is playing? Is it a function of a lack of understanding from our people of what the National Assembly should do, or once people arrive at that arena, they sort of just cut off from the people and push out whatever agenda they think is good for the people?
Unfortunately, that appears to be the opinion of the public.
And that's a wrong opinion by your assessment?
It is not a wrong opinion. The public is the employers of the legislators. The public is employers of the legislature, and you have to listen to them. The public are actually the people who have the highest and the biggest experience. Now, the highest and the biggest experience. The public has seen the legislature headed by Galina Abba.
That's right.
And the Oyi of Oyi, Dr. Chuba Okadigbo. The public has seen the legislature that was headed by Ite, and the one that was headed by the next speaker. They have seen the one that was headed by Demeji Bankole, and the one that was headed by the former speaker of, former governor of Katsina State, you know.
Tambuwal. Tambuwal is the speaker,
and then the yes. Now, they have seen the quality of debate, the quality of engagement with the public, the quality of bills introduced, the quality of things that were rejected. Meanwhile, what changes are the legislators? The public has not changed. So the public, if we are talking of cognate experience, it is the public that has greater cognate experience than the legislators, because the legislators change and are elected every 4 years.
Right.
But the public is in a position to assess them. So the opinion of the public should be taken into account by the legislators. The opinion of the public. I wouldn't say they are right, I wouldn't say they are very wrong or wrong, but the legislators should learn and should actually be guided by what the public thinks of them. There is this thing that we normally say about His Lordship, Lord Denning of the
UK
High Court of England, of the English court, and he says, "What is the opinion of the man in the Clapham bus?" And so, in this case, I will phrase it to say, the legislature, the Senate and the House of Representatives, in the bill that you have passed, in the matters that you have handled, what is the opinion of the man in Nyanya, in Shomolu, in Ibiona, in Akwa Ibom State, where I come from? What is the opinion of the man in Nasarawa, in Sokoto State, about what you have done, about the way you have conducted your proceedings, about the way that you have even spoken of concerning and about the public? What is the opinion of the man about the way that you have felt and acted about their the empathy, about their welfare, about the economy? What is the rationale about the contribution you've made on the floor? About the rationale, about the opinion you've made on the floor. When we started practice as lawyers, we had one magistrate in my place that when you appear before him and then you make a submission that doesn't seem to flow well, he will say, "Learned counsel, speak and listen to yourself." That's when a magistrate tells you, "Learned counsel, speak and listen to yourself." And I will translate this to legislators that, distinguished senator, dear honorable member, that opinion that you gave on the floor on the budget, on the NDDC budget, on the budget of the parastatals, on the budget of the country, on the budget of the Ministry of Works, on the budget of the Central Bank of Nigeria, on the budget of the Communications Commission, distinguished honorable member, speak and listen to yourself. That contribution you made when we're talking about whether they should be ranching or no ranching, when we're talking about the right of the pastoralist and the right of the farmer who is planting his yam, his maize, his beans, speak and listen to yourself. And as you speak and listen to yourself, ask the man that is planting yam and rice, whom you are waiting that the yam and the potatoes and the rice should ripen, should be matured, so that it can be harvested and brought to the market. And you say the man, the cow, the herdsman, the person has a right to enter and eat and harvest the fruit and eat, because he's a pastoralist, he has a cow, he's also a citizen, and then you'll complain that there is no food, you complain that there is no rice, that tomato is costly, that rice, that we made rice, and the government made rice at 33,000, that the rice is now 90,000 or
105.
No, I don't think it got that bad.
The premium quality is 105, distinguished.
There is no the one you call premium quality is the imported rice.
Well, that's how they are describing the market.
No. That is you're adding the import cost and all that. I have been on the campaign that Nigerians should not eat rice that is imported into this country.
Talking about those campaigns,
yes,
and
which leads to you do not know how long it has been there.
That's right.
It has been preserved by preservative to last long enough for you to get, and that preservative is what is causing cancer and other ailments.
All right.
And so what I call premium quality is the rice that is planted in Nasarawa, in Benue, in Bansara, in Ogoja, the rice that is planted in my village in Ibiono and harvested and is in the market within 2 months. That is the premium quality.
All right, thank you, distinguished. Just doubling down on that, and I like the fact that you have talked about what the ideas should be. But we have seen a National Assembly that have missed out on the opportunities, to help with the whole concept of governance. We are in a serious economic mess, and it doesn't appear that when they show up for debate, they even understand what these issues are. And when they call for certain briefing, you make it closed doors. You close the opportunity for debate, for rational Nigerians to also listen and offer perspective on these issues. Does it appear to you that they don't even understand the opportunities that exist to use law as an instrumentality to support governance? Is there no opportunity for lawmaking or for the National Assembly in the current economic crisis, in the negotiations about minimum wage, in the conversation around opening up the imports to supplement the severe food shortages that it appears that we're going to? Why does it appear that the optics we get from the National Assembly is one of a group of people that seem to be very comfortable with the way this country is going and don't give a damn?
I want to apologize to the public for having this impression. And I want to urge my friends, my brothers and sisters in the National Assembly to take the public seriously. Take the public seriously. Because the public is right the way they're feeling. Because in your own response, sometimes in even reacting to what the public is feeling, it is a reaction without empathy. Reaction that seems to day you. And the action of like saying, who art thou? You know, which is wrong, which is very, very wrong. Even if you are, the public is your employers. You don't have a job without the public.
Yeah,
Senator, now, let me come to the question that you hold closed sessions and you have debates without allowing the public to participate, and sometimes you don't go into public hearing for the public to make their contributions, and sometimes you pass laws or go into take actions that doesn't resonate with the people. I think this is wrong. I think this is diverting from the norm. You are making laws for the people, and the people should be part of the lawmaking process. Take, for instance, the bill on
national anthem,
on the open grazing. Which one did you say?
The national
we're talking about the national anthem.
I thought he was going to refer to
that one has become law. Let me talk of the one that is still in the pipeline, in the works. Talk of the bill on the open grazing. To what extent is the public engaged? The public will be engaged because the bill has been committed for public hearing. But even you, the legislature, when you were debating this bill, did you consider the provisions of the Land Use Act? That the Land Use Act 1978 says that every local government shall have a grazing reserve, and that in having a matter provided for the local government is not within the legislative competence of the National Assembly. Now, and that the legislative competence of the National Assembly in the way on the use of land is only to the extent that it is in the Federal Capital Territory. That the National Assembly is the House of Assembly for the Federal Capital Territory. And that you can only make law on the use of land in the Federal Capital Territory. And that even in the Federal Capital Territory, there is an extent to which you have to divert some of these powers for the area councils in the Federal Capital Territory. Again, when you considered in the bill, did you consider the provisions of the Constitution, which says that the National Security Services Act, the Land Use Act, and other laws, and two other legislations, are admitted as part of the Constitution, and that you cannot amend it in any other manner other than in the manner that the Constitution is amended? Did you consider that you ought to have gotten this through by the process of constitution amendments and referred it for consideration by the Constitution Review Committee? That it is not an ordinary bill, because if you want to change any provision in the Land Use Act. Again, did you consider, when you talk of right, did you consider the extent of the legal maxim that we say that you have a right to point your finger because it is your right? But your right to point your finger stops where my nose begins. That you don't infringe on my right by pointing your finger to the extent that it comes to touch or bruise my nose. Now, The man that has cow or ram or goat has the right to own property, and that is his property. The man that is planting the yam, cassava, tomato, potatoes, pumpkin, and sprout, lettuce, also has a right to property. And that is what he uses to eat. And that each of them has his own right, you know, and that you do not have a right to take your cow, because cow is protein. You need carbohydrate.
That's right.
You need this. And the more you enter the farm of another person and claim that you have a right to move because you are a citizen, you know, and eat the other person's property, is the same way that the other person has a right to.
Yeah.
Did you consider the other elements? Now, that is at the point of that debate on the floor. Now, I agree the public has a right, has a now opportunity to make contributions to that bill at the level of public hearing, which is what you were talking about. But even the way the public hearing and the content of their hearing should be guided by the intellectual expose that you have made in the course of contributing to the passage of the bill, you know. And again, let us also think that there is what we normally call doctrine of necessity. When you are faced with a situation where there are two contending equal rights, and going this way will bridge this one, going this way will bridge this. Now you adopt a middle course. The middle course will be who loses more in the right of the pastoralist to take his cow to eat the other crops, or the other. It is the country and the economy. Right. It is the naira that loses more. It is the dollar that gains more. It is the neighboring countries who will now have to bring food, grow food for us that will gain more. If that happens, what do? We have to pass that law and then convince the state houses of assembly to adopt it like the way we did in the Child Rights Act.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, Senator, for want of time, we're going to have to rush through a couple of issues. One is your take on the quality of the bills that have been passed since the inception of the current National Assembly. One of the monumental ones would be perhaps the Student Loan Act, which easily stands out. The one they passed last year, the amendment they made this year, targeting hundreds of thousands of Nigerian students who need these funds to pursue their academic careers. And also, talk to me about the current issue that we're faced with right now, because there's a lot of, you get a sense that the public thinks the priority list of the National Assembly is not necessarily aligned with what Nigerians want right now, even though they occasionally speak about some of the things that we want them to speak about, like the open grazing management that you're talking about right now. But they're also doubling down on the local government autonomy, which seems to be in line with what the president is trying to achieve also, financial autonomy for the local government, get it out of the hands of the governors so that our local councils can operate optimally. What is your take on the quality of the bills that you've seen so far over the course of the 1 year that they've been in charge, and also their points of view on some of these topical issues? While they may appear to be on the right side of the argument, it does appear that their body language seems to be mirroring what the president wants. And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I heard it because of this engagement say that it is not a sign of loyalty to pass any measure the president thinks. Now, I chaired the Rules and Business Committee for 12 years in the House of Representatives, 1999 to 2011. I chaired the Rules and Business Committee in the Senate, 2011 to 2015. I was advisor to the president on National Assembly matters, 2015 to 2019, 2020. And in all this, I was in charge of consideration of bills, scrutinizing of bills, looking at the quality of bills that should come onto the floor, making sure the bill that should come onto the floor has been purified. It has gone through scrutiny. And the scrutiny, we ensure that, one, it is a matter within the legislative competence of the National Assembly. Second, we ensure the quality of the drafting. Third, we ensure that in that bill that is going to come before the National Assembly, or that we're going to bring before the floor, that it is a matter where if there is a provision that is already captured in any other law, we draw the attention of the sponsor that this other provision is already captured in an existing law. But if you don't agree, we now brief the Speaker and we get our team to withdraw all that up. And I will raise it on the floor. We give the brief to the Speaker. We give a brief to the leader of the House, or the Senate as it were, and to myself as the Chairman of Rules and Business, so that on the floor, we will raise this so that the floor with the Senate or the House will not appear to be misguided. Now, I have given this background to draw a distinction and say, is that still being done now? If you are not doing that now, which I'm unfortunately saying it is not being done the way it ought to be. Even in the quality of the bills, when we have problems in any bill that comes and it is not properly drafted, the language is not legislatively appropriate, the language does not accord with the Constitution, the language does not accord with best international practice in legislative drafting, we will, in the Rules and Business Committee, I will sit and redraft it. Sometimes if I don't have time, or it's a lot more technical, I will engage with the Institute of Legislative Studies now. At that time, we called it Policy Analysis and Research Project. They will send draft men. I will send it to them. They will redraft it, and they will bring it back, and we will sit and look at it before we list it for consideration. Even in motions, we will draft your attention that, look, this is not a matter that should come by way of emotion. You bring a motion that they should repair, they should construct Abuja-Lokoja Road. You cannot move that motion because it is already you must, before you move that motion, you must ensure that there is a budgetary provision for that road to be done. You must ensure there is. And so you don't have to bring a motion that will tell the government, the executive, to breach the provision of an existing law. But you see that happening 98%.
Just give me a sense, distinguish, of why you think this is. Is it a function of the leadership recruitments? The National Assembly gradually and over time have now become a retirement home for ex-governors, and you think that whatever, you just see them show up for whatever reasons, and the quality of debates, while this number is growing, on the flip side has been dropping. Do you think the kind of persons we now have in the National Assembly may have fed into some of these gaps that we have noted?
It will be a lot hitting below the belt to answer that question. So I want to be excused from answering that.
But on a general perspective, how would you describe our recruitment process? There have been complaints about the level of attrition, may have been responsible. Every general election, it appears you lose a lot of experienced hands, and new people come in who take quite a while to settle, understand the process, and begin to add to the quality of debate. Do you think that's a factor?
I still want to be excused from answering that question directly. I'd rather want to say, let the senators and honorable members take what we used to do and what I have done with myself, my contributions on the floor, that go to the Hansard, which is the verbatim report of what you have of your contributions on the floor. If you come to my library, my legislative library, I have a law library, I have a legislative library, law library of my legal practice. I have a legislative library of my contributions on the floor of the legislature. I have a library of some of the draft laws, bills. I have a library of the files and other things that were done from 1999 to 2015 when I chaired the Rules and Business in the House and Senate. If you come to that, you will see the quality of debate that each person had. You'll see my contribution when we had the debate on amendment of every constitution. You'll see my contribution when we passed the onshore-offshore abolition, dichotomy abolition. You'll see my debate when on the floor of the Senate, when I opposed the establishment of the, I think the 5,000 naira note by the central bank. You'll see my debate on many economic issues. You see the laws I cited. You see the provisions of the Constitution. You see the journals on the economy of Nigeria, the journals on the economy from Wall Street, the journals I cited on many other countries which has adopted this, the effect it has on the valuation of their currency and so on. I want to use that to urge current members of the National Assembly, of the House of Representatives and Senate, that look, that distinguished, my colleagues, friends, go and take, since you enter the legislature, pick out the words, the verbatim report from the verbatim reporters. It is everyday made, and then give it out. Get it to where it says, assess yourself, assess what you said. Because you will see legislators go to the floor with just either a newspaper they have picked on the road.
That's right.
In fact, these days they didn't even pick on the road because it is there in their iPad and their phone. They just walk in without the Constitution. It may be on their phone. You make a contribution without citing the provision of the Constitution or anything, and that you will use that to answer that question. They will use that to answer the question.
And I believe this would, be a perfect point for us to draw the curtains. But there's a lot more unanswered questions with regards to how the legislature is performing, especially if you consider that there are hundreds of or at least tens of senators and House of Representative members who have not sponsored a bill and who have not made any meaningful contribution to date since joining the 10th National Assembly. And that begs the question, why are they there in the first place if they do not have anything to contribute?
I think that is a very wrong way to assess legislators. Please, I will just conclude by saying that you don't judge a legislature by the fact whether he has sponsored a bill or not. You judge him by the quality of the contributions he has made to any bill that has been brought on the floor. Because this is what encourages recycling of bills. When you go to when you are just arriving, somebody either in the rules and business or any of these or any committee will just give you a bill and say, there is a bill to sponsor, and you sponsor. Sometimes you don't even know the content of it, but so that your name will be written as having sponsored a bill. So that is not how to measure. It is a wrong parameter.
So we'll perhaps circle back to this particular conversation at a later date, but thank you most kindly for joining us this morning. You really provided a lot of experience, insight, and context to the conversation. Thank you
very much. Let me welcome myself to TV and say that this is my first time of coming to
and I hope it's not the last.
And I definitely know it will not be. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the quality of contributions you are making to the public discourse and to democracy.
Thank you very much, Senator Ita Enang. I appreciate you very much for stopping by this morning. We've been speaking to a consummate lawmaker, Senator Ita Enang, on the first anniversary of the 10th National Assembly. Daybreak returns in just a moment as we take a look at the front pages of some select national dailies. The newspaper review is up next.